You're listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. Conversations on how nonprofit attractions are increasing attendance and sharing their missions through marketing. Your hosts are Ryan Dick and Jenny Williams of Attend Media.
Jenny, today we've got a spotlight episode, and you know what? I'm really excited about this one because we're going to be talking to somebody who does a podcast. It's like Kindred Spirits.
It's the new marketing channel for cultural attractions. So happy to get into this.
Yes. Super excited to be sharing notes. So we've got Madeline Walden. She is the social media manager at Aquarium of the Pacific. Madeline, welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. Like you already said, I'm very excited as well. All right. So tell us your journey. How did you get into the cultural attraction space?
Yeah. So really, I have a full marketing background, social media specifically, just being chronically online my entire life. And growing up in Long Beach, the Aquarium of the Pacific has always been such a highlight of my childhood. And so before I started working at the Aquarium, I was commuting from Long Beach to downtown LA every day and just, not enjoying that side of life. And got the job here in 2018 when they were 2016, when they were hiring for a social media specific role at the time for the first time. And I've been here ever since. It's been 9.5 years. It's been wonderful. I think it's really cool that the Aquarium invested in a social specific role so early. And prior to that, my manager, Anitza, she had been managing and created all of our social media accounts from the get-go. So it's been awesome to kind of take her lead and run with everything in all the different directions that we go on social, including podcasting.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about a little bit more about the day in the life in your role. So you're coming in as the first person for social media. Does that mean you're stepping into a small team overall, or you just have all these people at your beck and call waiting to help you out?
Nonprofit life. So we do have a pretty large marketing team here at the Aquarium, but our social media team specifically is just myself and, like I said, my manager, Anitza. So her and I run our entire social media presence. It's an audience growing over 3.5 million people, 3.5 million followers, which is really wonderful. I love our audience. And yeah, so day to day, it's a lot. It's always different. It's always different. I'm sure everybody says that, but it really is. I could be in the sea lion habitat one day and running around with, penguin poop all over my shoes the next. And then the next day just plugged into my desk and, just full, Facebook, Meta business suite back and forth with our wonderful followers all day. So it's really different from day to day. But I have a lot of fun in my role. It's really, really a blast. And so I'm doing full-time content creation for our channels, hosting live streams, hosting our podcast, Aquarium of the Pacific, and managing our entire social media presence.
I have a few questions about your role in general here. So I think a lot of people that we talk to who are in this role or similar roles or maybe just in the marketing team in general, right? When we think about getting content, we just had this conversation with someone. It's like interviewing your experts, which I think we're going to talk about a little bit when we get more into the podcast. But are you the person who's wearing that hat and going around and talking to the staff, whether it's on animal care, guest service? Like, is that your role, or are you kind of split and divide that across the marketing team?
Yeah, I'm kind of that in between, I guess, between the marketing department and our other teams across the Aquarium, which I really enjoy that role. I learned so much from my colleagues, and especially in our husbandry department, who oversee all the animal care at the Aquarium. So those are kind of usually the main focus of our social media videos, and those interviews of getting to know like what happens in animal care and what does the day-to-day of that look like. And so, yeah, I'm the one having those conversations mostly.
And then how about, so with 3.5 million followers, you're across, I'm assuming, pretty much every single social platform. What's been kind of a standout lately for you, or what a channel you find specifically impactful for Aquarium of the Pacific? Yeah,
the majority of our audience is on TikTok. That's 2.8 million. And that's our, newest platform. I guess I shouldn't say newest. Blue Sky is technically our newest, but, TikTok, the growth on there was unlike any other. I feel like many other institutions feel the same way. We started there in January 2020, and then the world fell apart, and we were there providing cute animal videos and showing people all of the amazing work that the aquarium was still doing despite being closed to the public. And it really just grew our audience monumentally. I think by the end of the year, we had 1 million followers, and that was more than anywhere else we had ever been. So it's a lot of fun on there. Obviously, just tides are changing, and like our growth there has kind of been a little stagnant since probably the past year or so. But still a really fun place to create. The audience is really engaging and positive, and we have a lot of fun on our live streams over there too.
How about any like standout content that you've been able to work on or create, or something that sticks out in mind that was very successful?
Yeah, anything with our sea lions tends to be very impactful. And I can't help but feel it's because they're my favorite animal. But their videos, they're just so engaging and so charismatic. And I think people really enjoy seeing the care that goes into a 600-pound sea lion, and the fact that, we are hand feeding it every single day, and they have these amazing personalities. I think it's just very, very exciting for our audience to see those connections that our staff and the animals have.
So a little bit of an unfair advantage because you've got sea lions, right? But
I know.
Our audience kind of goes, beyond just animal-based institutions. Like for maybe a botanical garden or a history museum. I mean, those numbers that you're talking about, and especially being on TikTok, those are like mind-blowing for some of the other kind of in the cultural attraction space. How did you do it? I mean, you've got the sea lion advantage. You talked about kind of launching during COVID, but could you, this question is coming from, there are some smaller, like once again, botanical gardens or museums that don't even really have a TikTok presence whatsoever. Could you kind of give them a TikTok 101?
Yeah, of course. I think number one, edutainment on there goes so far. And so I see amazing botanical gardens or other institutions, even places that have a much more serious or maybe even somber message. A lot of nonprofits, focus in different spaces. Creating content that is not only engaging but educating is taking us really, really far across our entire social media presence. So we're able to have fun a little bit, with our animals, a little bit of humor in our videos, but really we're tricking you into learning something. And that's always the goal with everything that we post. There might be some fluff here and there. We might follow a trend as well. Those trends always help boost a little bit of engagement, like we can play along too. But really they're meant to hook you and get you to care about all of the amazing work that the aquarium does and as a part of our mission. So I think lead with what you want to teach people, and lead with what, you would find you would find valuable as, an outsider to your institution, and just create content around that, and your audience will find you. We've had a lot of fun basically just teaching and tricking people into learning something.
Okay. I'm writing that down. Trick people.
Got it.
Okay.
Aquarium of the Pacific tricks people into learning.
We'll edit that out. But actually, we're not. We're going to roll with that.
It's my whole job.
And just kind of curious, are you doing any type of, with those type of numbers, are you doing any just kind of pure like promotional type of messaging? Like, hey, we've got this great event coming up, or is it always that edutainment type of feel?
Because our audience has kind of grown to a global status at this point, we don't spend, especially on TikTok, we don't spend a lot of time on content that is visit specific. That's really for more for other platforms where we're reaching a more local audience. But it's cool because we're reaching people who, are in Australia and adding us to their future travel bucket list, which is really, really fun. But when it comes to like more overarching things, like we have this amazing event called Night Dive. It's adults only. We have about 6 to 8 events a year. And I love focusing and highlighting that event because it's really, really fun. It's after hours and there's DJs, there's live music. It's just a really fun way to see the aquarium. And I think that kind of just performs well across the board for us. But there's a lot of amazing events that we have that we share on a pretty often basis, because it all goes back to supporting our mission and getting people here to learn about the animals, and maybe something alongside of it too. Like we have some Santa breakfasts coming up. So there's something for everybody.
I'm going to push you on this just a little bit more here because I'm a little bit more of that ROI, like what are we doing this for? So is there any type of measurement? And I get it. The mission's the mission, and it's always about the mission, right? But how would you if you do that, like, how do you consider like success? Is it just purely like follower size, engagement? Like, what are your KPIs that you say, hey, that was a really good win for us?
Yeah, I'm very lucky in my role. We're not so analytic forward. I hate to bring it back to it's really just a vibe, and I'm lucky my management understands it and sees that as well. We measure success by, what is the impact of this post, and are we hearing about it in external conversations? Are we hearing about it from staff on site? Did this perform across platforms in different ways? Really, yeah, that's my biggest goal is to incite on-site conversations where people are coming up to my coworkers because they recognize them from a TikTok video, or, oh my gosh, you taught me that sea lions have black teeth and it's okay that they have black teeth, because the bacteria build up and they're supposed to have that. It helps protect their teeth. So those kind of in real life conversions, it's hard to track specifically, did this video make you buy a ticket? But if you show up on site and you're talking to my coworkers about a video that you saw on our TikTok channel or, anywhere else online, then I think that's a success. So really creating those in real life conversations is my number one goal. But yeah, I mean, we know if a video performs or doesn't perform the way we want it to, and nothing's a failure. We will look at it and say, okay, what can we do different next time? The message is always going to be important. So how can we just shift it in certain ways? And, we go from there and see what'll work next time.
And then going back to kind of the team structure. So for someone listening who maybe doesn't have a dedicated social media manager, like how much content are you actually putting out there on a weekly basis? Do you have hey, we're posting every single day on every channel, or do you have kind of a minimum benchmark in terms of what you're trying to hit in content?
I wish we could post daily. At one point we were posting daily or posting at least 5 times a week. My goal really is 3 to 5 times a week at this point. We're in the middle of a podcast season right now, so that's a little bit lower just based on my workload and bandwidth. But that's always my goal. Does it always happen? No. I feel very lucky that we have this library of amazing content that we are utilizing for reposts and just kind of being able to rely on some really great content that we've created in the past that our audience still responds to. So that's helpful during, our podcasting seasons where I just have less time.
We're going to keep peppering you with questions because you're doing great here.
Okay.
Is there kind of a formula that you find works better on TikTok compared to Instagram? Do you keep it light and fluffy on one platform, or everybody gets the same? What's kind of your outlook on that?
Yeah, it's relatively the same content across platforms. If I have the time, then it's repurposed in different ways. But really, I think what it is it's a lot of transparency into animal care, and seeing a side of the aquarium that you wouldn't normally see just as a visitor. That's really valuable to me. So you're seeing, a sea lion or a seal getting its teeth brushed, or you're seeing a otter get its annual exam, or a penguin being scanned by a metal detector to make sure he hasn't swallowed anything that he shouldn't be. So there's these kind of glimpses into all of the amazing work that the aquarium does in front of guests and also behind the scenes that performs really, really well for us. And I think just allows this connection to go even further. As an animal care facility, that work is so important to us and is our main priority. And getting to show off the amazing care that the animals receive is just it's easy to do because they're already doing it. So getting to show our audience what's going on is it's a privilege for me.
You're listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. Conversations on how nonprofit attractions are increasing attendance and sharing their mission through marketing. Your hosts are Ryan Dick and Jenny Williams of Attend Media. Attend Media is a media planning and buying agency specializing in zoos, aquariums, gardens, and museums. For more information, please visit attend.media. Now, back to Ryan and Jenny.
All right, Madeline. So let's talk about this podcast thing you got going on.
Yeah, my baby.
Tell us everything you know.
Okay, so Aquarium of the Pacific is our podcast. I am a co-host with my better half, Erin Lundy. Erin is our conservation, I always forget her job title, conservation initiatives manager, something like that. She's very important here at the aquarium. She oversees a lot of the amazing conservation efforts we do with birds and mammals, and amphibians mostly, actually. She's a crazy frog lady. But she's really an expert on everything that happens here at the aquarium. And I play the role and really am the audience surrogate. So I'm the non-expert. I'm in there saying like, wait, you're going too scientific. Let's bring it back a little bit. And really what this podcast came out of was these TikTok lives we were doing from 2021 to 2023 about where we were live streaming weekly in partnership with TikTok. And it would be myself behind the camera, and we would have an animal expert on screen. A lot of the time it was Erin, because her and I just work so well together. But we've streamed everything from our sea jellies to frogs to sea lions to any animal you can name at the aquarium. We've done specific live streams about. So we were reaching an audience that was relatively new for us. It was kind of like this, 20 to 40-year-old audience that we were maybe kind of missing in other areas of the aquarium where, we reach families really well and we reach young children really well, but how are we educating adults that are plugged into the internet? And so that's kind of where the success was with those TikTok lives. And so we kind of were talking about, okay, how can we continue these really great conversations we're having on TikTok that feel a little disposable because it's a live stream and you kind of have to be there to tune in, and maybe you'll catch a replay, but not really. And the podcast just felt like an easy place to go. And so we're really having these long form conversations there, which is really wonderful for me because I learned so much and the audience learned so much alongside me. But we're able to talk about more in depth versus, a 15-second video we're posting on TikTok about a really critical matter versus getting to a real deep dive, an hour-long conversation with the person who oversees, our conservation efforts at the aquarium, which I think is really valuable and our audience has responded really well to.
So this was born off of doing TikTok lives. And I guess that kind of answers the question of like, why? Why would an institution want to devote the time, resources to do something like this? Is because you're doing these kind of successful interviews, but as you just mentioned, they poof, disappear, right?
Yeah, they kind of just don't go anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Right. So what does a format, like a longer form format like podcasting, be able to do for you guys? You kind of touched on it, but give us a little bit more there.
Yeah, once again, it's really inciting these real world conversations where people who are already plugged into the work that the aquarium does are just getting a deeper dive on. It's almost like the next step. Like, we got you with the cute sea lion video, so you tuned into a live stream and now you're listening to a podcast about oil spills. Like, it's kind of like, that trajectory. So we're really getting you in there with all the amazing work that the aquarium is working on. And the value, like I said, is those in real life conversations and conversions of, teaching people what all the amazing work that we do.
So our audience out there is going, okay, all right, I'm digging what this girl's saying. If an institution hasn't already taken the dive and done a podcast, could you help them out? Like, what would be some of your tips? How do people get started? What do you know?
Yeah. So we hit the ground running with 10 episodes, and we released them in a season in 2023. We're now in our fourth season, and it's a little more sporadic based on, it's not only myself recording and scheduling around, but also my colleague, Erin. And so based on, her availability, it's kind of flexible. But I will say it's a lot of work to get it started because you have to buy the equipment, find your setup, all of that stuff. But really, once you start creating and putting podcasts out there, I haven't found that if we need to take a little bit of a break, we lose an audience. A podcast is more of like a passive thing that you are not seeing in feed every single day. So it's more something like if you subscribe to it and it pops up in your feed, oh, this is a treat, versus like, where is this next episode? I hope our audience is eager for the next episode, of course.
Me too.
But it's not, but it's not punishable, I guess, versus other platforms. If we don't post for, a month, if we haven't posted a podcast for a month, those are very two different things. So it is low lift once you hit the ground running. And my only thing is like, you're never going to run out of things to talk about. We can always revisit topics and things that we've already discussed in the past and just find new ways to talk about them or update the audience. Like our very first episode was about sea otters. We could do a different sea otter episode every single month because we're always doing amazing work with sea otters. So there's a lot of room for institutions to just kind of maintain these conversations and really look for these long form opportunities. like I said, it's low lift. It's once you get it all set up and you have somewhere to record, and you yourself are learning the whether it's in Riverside or you're editing in Premiere or Audition. That side of things is a little bit of a little bit of a lift, but once you got it, you got it. You're already creating content for your social media platforms. It's pretty much the same thing.
You're speaking my love language here. Yeah, absolutely. 10 episodes to get started, right? Like that feels like the bare minimum. And, the first step is always the hardest step, right?
Totally. Mm-hmm.
But if you can do 10, then you can do 50. Is that, I'm putting words in your mouth.
I think so. No, I think so. And really, it's just about believing in yourself too. Like I was really dreading editing that first episode. We actually re-recorded our first episode because Aaron and I went into that first episode with a colleague that we get along really well with. And we're like, this is just going to be like the TikTok lives. We're not going to set any parameters. We're going to have no outline. And then we quickly realized like, oh, this is different. It's different if you don't have an animal engaging the audience right in front of you. So I was like, this is not good. We can't release this. We have to go back. And we've had to re-record a couple where we just didn't feel like we had it, had our groove. But now we have it, and now we're locked into it. And, we could go a couple weeks without recording and kind of just hop back into it really quickly. We've been complimented by our staff because, we work with animal people. A lot of people don't realize the coolness factor of the work that they do, and coming into a room with your colleagues and, in a safe place. You're not being live streamed. We don't do video for our podcast yet. But it's really just like an open conversation where they know like, oh, if I flub a line, I can go back. I know it's not going to come in the episode. It's a safe space for them to really talk about all of the amazing work that they do here, and feel like it's going to make them look good. And it's going to make, the work that they do reach a wider audience. So it's really fun. I really love doing it.
So I can hear some of the challenges in perhaps our audience's heads, like, okay, how do I get the frog person to create compelling content? Or how do I get the botanist to talk about the seed? Do you have any tips? Okay, we've got the setup, we've done 10 up, or, we're going to do this. You are the host. You've got to extract this kind of cool information that lives in your subject matter experts' heads, but you also have to create some compelling content or nobody's going to listen. Do you have any journalistic or interview tips that you can share?
Yeah, so we ahead of time will outline the episode, and we ask all of our guests to come into the episode with just a story, whether it be with their animal specifically, or a story they love telling about their animal career, or just their career in general, really, or connection they have with an animal, etc. And so we kind of go through that. We talk about their background. We talk about what brought them to the aquarium, how long they've worked here, what their trajectory at the aquarium has been. And then we kind of get into the meat of the episode, going back and forth. It just becomes very conversational right away. I think just as someone who has done these TikTok live streams, I've just learned how to keep the conversation rolling. And I would just practice that in just all my conversations. But if you're watching this and you're wondering like how I could do that, just literally it's just about being a social butterfly sometimes, and just kind of popping into people's, offices. What are you working on? And just, training yourself to just keep the conversation moving. But really, I'm very lucky because I have a co-host who can help kind of fill the gaps when I'm falling behind, or we're troubleshooting with our technology. And then we also take audience questions for every single episode too. So those kind of help fill the space. We post about them on social media the day that we're recording. So it feels very timely, and we collect those via Instagram stories. And yeah, that's a really fun way for the audience to be engaged in the content, as well as just keep that conversation flowing. I always have a list of things like, okay, well, anyways, let's get back to it. And it just helps keep things rolling.
The podcast pro here. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better.
Thanks,
and going back to that first episode, like, how about like just listening to your voice in editing?
That was rough.
Oh gosh, I sound like that. Yeah. that was
rough at first. I was really dreading the edit, and then you just get over it and you're like, this is a really valuable conversation. And, my colleagues are just so brilliant and so well-spoken that it makes it easy to really sit back and let them take the lead. I haven't felt the need to like really have to hop in and keep the conversation rolling. But it's great to have those audience questions just in case.
Okay. So you got your first season done. It's in the can, if you will. Talk to me about like promotion. I mean, you've done like, you've taken that big first step. Now you want somebody to listen to it. some of the things that worked for y'all?
We've played around with it a lot because it's never something we've marketed before. It's never something I've marketed before. And so really we had like, little graphics with a little tinker going up and down with our voices, whatever that thing's called. And that's not very engaging for our social media audiences. So really we are now leaning on videos of the animals we're talking about or around the subject that we're talking about and putting a voiceover, really, great clip from the episode over some really beautiful B-roll that we have. And that's performing really well on its own. So it's kind of, getting, check mark in my content creation box and my, check mark in my podcast box because we're reaching an audience already with our content no matter what. And then, this is actually tied to a podcast episode. I might want to learn more about this. And yeah, it's going really well. It's definitely still new for us and we're still trying out things. We haven't played around with a lot of like paid advertising around the podcast quite yet. But it's doing really well on its own so far. I would love to see it, our audience grow and continue there. I think partnering with more third parties, like we in our first season, we partnered with Octonation on an episode, who's the world's largest octopus fan club, on an episode surprise about octopuses. And so that performed really well because we had buy-in from another audience on top of ours. So things like that, I think, really help promote and get our podcast out there. I'd like to do that more.
Yeah, that like the cross promotion, that totally makes sense.
Really.
Okay, so let's scare our audience out of this, like, and be real. Like, how much time, how big is the lift? Especially like getting going in those first couple episodes.
It's really not that bad. I am very critical of the content that we put out there. So I will listen to an episode probably 3 or 4 times before it goes out. I'm the one editing it, making sure that, we're removing all the little uhs and ands and likes and all of that. And, it doesn't, we don't sound like robots, but I just want to make sure that we're getting the information clearly out there. So I'm very critical of that side of it. If you are more disciplined in your conversation and you're recording in a way where, you want to help yourself out, at the end of the day, I'm still not good at that. I'm very still conversational in the room, and then we'll go back and make the edits after the fact. So it really depends on how disciplined you are. But I think that it's up to you of how much time you want to dedicate to it. If you want to do, 15-minute episodes, if you want to do an hour and a half long episodes, if you want to script everything out, or if you want it to just be conversational. Ours is working really well. It's conversational. We have a slight outline, like I said, but nothing scripted. And it's a low lift, like I said. It's something that I get a lot of joy out of doing too, so it feels very fulfilling. If you want me to put an hour number on it, I'd say, yeah, probably like, 4 to 5 hours an episode of work. Maybe more, maybe less, depending on what it is. But yeah, it's doable. It's totally doable.
Any final words before we move off of the podcast stuff? I could talk about this for another hour, but...
Me too. Listen to it, please. You can follow us. We're at Podcific. We're at Aquarium Pacific everywhere online. The podcast itself has its own Instagram channel at Podcific. And yeah, we're everywhere you can listen to podcasts. So check it out.
All right. So we talked a lot about podcasts. So your answer could relate back to podcasts. But one thing we like to ask everybody who joins this, our podcast is, what's a tool that you couldn't live without in your day-to-day life? So again, could be related to the podcast. Maybe it's your social media management, day-to-day work. What's your savior tool?
Yeah, I feel like it'll probably be the same for everybody, but our social media tool is Sprout Social. I love Sprout. I'm using that daily. We're recently, I kind of touched on it early in this episode, but we are reusing a lot of old content as well. And so I'm using Repurpose for that, which has been really helpful. It's a great way to just quickly upload old content across platforms. So between Sprout and Repurpose, those are kind of my saving graces lately, especially during a podcast season.
And just to be crystal clear, Sprout Social and Repurpose are 2 different platforms?
2 different platforms. Sprout Social is our scheduling and reporting platform, and Repurpose is just literally a program that allows you to repurpose content across social media channels and in a really easy way. It's fantastic.
feel like that's a pretty good answer, Jenny. I like that answer. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like we've got to give a nod to something for a podcast too, for a tool. So I'll throw one out because since you guys said that you're not doing full video yet, this platform we're using, Riverside, is awesome because it has a little AI tool in it that'll like snapshot things for you and give you video and you can go back and edit it yourself. So if you're looking for some time-saving ways to get a podcast, but also generate video, it's an awesome platform.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
we got to upgrade a video. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. The famous last question. I don't know, Jenny. I don't know if she can handle this one. Madeline, what do you think marketing teams at cultural attractions should be doing more or less of in terms of their marketing?
I think across the board, everybody needs to use the social media platforms that they're creating for on a regular basis as a user. That's really where we found the most success in spaces is, targeting the content around the audience that you're trying to reach on each platform, and really tailoring it because the conversation is so different on every single space. So using the platform as a user yourself, getting into the conversations, realizing how people talk on this platform versus the other, how people create on this platform versus the other has been a great model of success for us. So I can't recommend it enough. I really don't think you can create for a space that you're not a part of already. And so I always say, get in, if you find out a new social media platform is making its rounds, of course, secure your handles, but use it like a user would and get to know the ins and outs of it. What do people like about it? What do people not like about it? What are features that are really easy for users to create content around? And then just dive in that way. I think the conversation around TikTok is always hard for institutions, especially now, to hop on. But if you're just using it as a user already, you know how to create for it. You can easily get in there and create and have a lot of success on there. So that's always my number one advice is use it like a user.
Good stuff. Madeline Walden, she is the social media manager at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Madeline, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Attractions Podcast. If you have a suggestion for a topic or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at marketingattractionspodcast.com.